Arthur Black. Welcome to Weird Homes, a show that looks at the most unusual and bizarre homes in North America. You know, if I was a mailman, this would be my favorite spot. I love homes that are out of the ordinary, and today we've got 3 that fit the bill, all extraordinary, each for a different reason. You might want to wear a headlamp. At one place we'll visit, it used to be a mine site. And we'll see an exquisite house that was created and decorated against extraordinary odds. Then there's Willie and May Tarver's place, more museum than mansion. They've got a whole lawn full of characters hauled out of the history of the Deep South. Let's take a look. Welcome to the magical space that Ginny Ruffner calls home. An artistic oasis almost as mind-blowing as the saga of Ginny herself.
And
Willie Tarver's place is pretty spectacular, too. Here he is introducing the members of his homemade band.
the violinist. And this guy's playing the violin.
And Bob Corbett's bunker. Zinc ore hopper, actually. One-of-a-kind homes like these stand out so much, they scarcely need a zip code. That's not a cluster of birthday balloons. It's an exquisitely delicate blown glass lamp. It graces the Seattle home of the artist who made it, Ginny Ruffner. Ginny was already a big name in the art world before she transformed this century-old shipyard office into her live-in studio. Galleries fought over her work. Then, the accident. A head-on car collision in 1992 put her in a wheelchair for several years. Then she taught herself to walk again.
The art world was absolutely stunned when Ginny had her accident because she wasn't just a rising star, she was a personality, a face to the art business that we could use.
No one should know better than Ginny's art dealer, John Brassett.
Ginny was a poster girl for how exciting this new world of art and glass and sculpture could be.
Far from being cowed by her car crash, Ginny took on new challenges, including sculpting with heavy metal. Knowing Ginny, that figures.
There's a book that had been written about Ginny called Why Not? It epitomizes how I feel about Ginny's life is, why not? Why didn't she die? I'll tell you, because Ginny wasn't finished. She had just started.
Among the qualities that Ginny didn't lose in that accident, her wonderful sense of humor.
I think life is hysterical, and you have a choice. You can either cry or laugh. So why not laugh?
And she handed me one of these glass pieces, and I reached out. They're very, very valuable, and she dropped it. Of course, I screamed. I thought, oh my God. She said, oh, I do that to everybody. She said, I know the anatomy of glass, and glass will not break as long as there's a hole in the top of that round piece. Every time I see her do this to somebody, I know for a fact she likes them. I consider Ginny the feminist Christo, probably the great installation artist of the West Coast anyway. And now you walk in and she's not happy if the environment isn't exploding. I mean, literally over your head. And if there's anything Ginny loves more, it's to have something very dangerous hanging above your head.
What exactly are these dangerous objects? Just that, they're objects.
I'm an object maker, so I'm an object lover. I deal in beauty and in stuff, so I particularly like beautiful stuff.
She's a passionate collector of things, and oftentimes you won't know about it until you start walking around the house. And I don't know if you've seen the collection of egg beaters. That collection of egg beaters is going to be shown at a museum. Possessions, Obsessions is the title of that show.
Ginny's art has never been more in demand, so she set herself a schedule, starting at 5:30 a.m. with a workout, which is nothing new for Ginny since she used to be an aerobics instructor. She's a busy woman, but not so busy that she can't offer a tour of the facilities.
Have you seen my subway bathroom?
Yep, where there's a subway, there will be graffiti.
I have a friend whose son was doing a lot of graffiti, so I wanted to take advantage of his skill. So I gave him a job painting my bathroom.
And this is what Ginny's second bathroom looks like this week. No guarantees for next, as John has found out.
You really almost count on a home staying the same. You love it, and you love what she's done, so you want to bring your friends and see this great environment. You walk in the door, and it's not what you just told your friends this is about. And I can't deal with that kind of change. I mean, it just drives me crazy.
Yeah, I'll change this one.
Your new piece?
Yeah.
Your new piece?
Yeah.
You changed this.
Yeah.
The last time I was here, oh my God. I had taken a picture of this and sent it to a client, thinking that that's what it was gonna look like.
Now it's better.
We're going broke. Ginny is somebody who is so comfortable with change that it's almost uncomfortable for people who aren't good at change to watch. So representing her as an art dealer has been absolutely trying, because I'll come in and see a work that I think is going well, and I'm trying to think, where am I gonna place this? What museum is gonna buy it? And I come back and she's torn it apart.
Ginny's created a small world of her own. It's her home, gallery, office, and studio, and her garden. Ben Hammondtree does the heavy lifting after he runs it by the foreman.
Would you consider putting any kind of fans across up there, you know, kind of like that style? Since you like roses so much, and we have a lot of the roses in the garden, it would help on some of the disease problems.
Yes.
And it would be great.
That'd be a good idea. I think we should try it. Not these bags like that. These are like that one. There's no.
Oh, and here's a photograph of the way the garden looked before.
Ginny's backyard made a magnificent recovery, as did Ginny. She says in many ways the accident made her stronger.
I think that I'm more patient and more welcoming of various kinds of beauty, and I'm not so judgmental. Many things are beautiful to me now. There's beauty everywhere.
Beauty everywhere, and nowhere more than here in the home of Ginny Ruffner.
Hold that. That's great. So just look right at me. That's great.
Butte, Montana. 100 years ago, twice as many people lived in these hills. Those were the days of big minds, big money, and big egos. Bob Corbett's mirror-clad Oldsmobile might be a reflection of that past, but his home is more than that. Bob's house is a piece of the past.
It's part of a zinc mill. It was done here, built in 1914 by one of the copper kings of Butte, Montana. It had quite a bit of construction that's not here anymore. They tore it a lot of it down to get it off their tax rolls, I think, in the 50s. It was built in 1909. I've been sort of adaptively reusing it to be a house for the last 28 years. And I'm going on the Chinese philosophy that the man who finishes his house dies. So, finishing is the very last thing on Bob's mind. 26 years he's been renovating this place, and there's still plenty to do. One way to be sure you never finish is to do things on a grand scale. Erecting this wee staircase to the roof must have taken a year at least. This building is two large ore bins. They're sort of like the top half of an hourglass. The train would dump the ore in, and then we'd take it out by gravity. I'm living in the space underneath the bins. I am slowly insulating the inside of it so that I can afford to heat it. There are 3 rooms on this side, a utility room, a kitchen, and a bathroom. So despite the fact that it's big on the outside, it's quite small on the inside. There's this main room. Then I have a sleeping loft here, which really makes it probably the largest 1-bedroom house in Montana, I don't know. I don't have a lot of sit-down dinners for 8 people, so I don't really need a big dining room. But when I change this chandelier, it's a chandelier now, and if I am going to have a dinner, I can flip a switch here and lower it.
A dining room table that drops out of the ceiling. There's something Martha Stewart never thought of. And it's not the only surprise in Bob Corbett's remodeled ore bin. Check out the coffee table.
Well, this is maybe the world's only programmable disco coffee table. These are simply Christmas tree decorations that have never been unpacked. And if you wait to buy them until March, they're real cheap. When I went and bought them in March, the guy at the store accused me of conspiring to cover a car with them, which gave me a good idea. I'd like to try that. It's sort of like a symbolic campfire.
Christmas tree lights may not throw off much heat, but that's okay. Bob's place comes with some serious insulation.
This concrete moderates the temperature. The sun heats it all summer. I think it's got about a 2-month lag time where it's still giving off heat to the interior of the building, even well into the fall and early winter. By the same token, it takes a long time to warm up in the spring.
Bob should know a thing or two about energy efficiency. He's an architect.
And this is where I spend my days. This is the design studio that we use for our work in low energy housing.
Bob couldn't move this rock out of the way, so he didn't. Comes with its own mine shaft.
The picture over here you can see is one of the early day copper kings. When these guys were rolling here at the turn of the century, they were making money hand over fist. I found one report that said W.A. Clark, who is the copper king that built this place, that he was grossing $11 million a month here in 1914.
Wow, that's even more than some ball players make.
I'm not sure I believe it, but I've seen some of the assay reports and so on, and he was bringing zinc ore here that was 26% zinc right out of the ground. So 3 shovels of dirt, 1 shovel of money is the way it really worked.
Bob doesn't get that kind of cash flow from the old mine, but he gets a fortune's worth of simple satisfaction.
I guess you'd call this my backyard. I built a little observation deck where I can hang out and watch the sunset.
I have a friend that knows about these kind of things. He says it'll be 1,500 years before there's major structural damage just due to the weather, and probably 5,000 years before the thing completely disappears. So I see myself as a temporary little tenant that is, making my life in it for this moment in time.
No ordinary address, no address needed at all at Bob's bunker. It's the most glorious sight for miles around. You're looking at the best-known home in Wadley, Georgia. Famous because the owners, Woody and May Tarver, have populated their front yard with a community of creatures and characters.
Here, Keto barking. She think we're coming home.
And famous because the Tarver family has been around here for so long, the very street they live on is named after them. As you'll soon find out, the deep history of the Deep South is not something Willie shies away from.
My father was a sharecropper, and he had what we call it down here, a boss man and a boss lady. And this was the boss man, and this was the boss lady. These were the people that owned the farm that we worked on. And when you make your crop, then you would share it 50-50 with the boss man, or whatever you want to call it. See?
A lot of folks would prefer not to call them to mind at all. But Willie's not interested in sanitizing history.
Here is a Georgia cotton picker. People in this part of the country would pick cotton by hand. That's just a little child there. He's also picking cotton.
So, would you call this a weird home? Willie's brother Ben thinks that's way too simplistic.
I wouldn't say you have a weird home. Some people think so in a way, but there are those who don't understand, you know. He's retired and he's got a little bit of medical problem, but he's got strong willpower.
Willpower must run in the Tarver veins. Tarver Sr. bought this land at auction in 1944, but not before running into some old-fashioned disrespect and a stranger who wanted to see justice done.
This fella that was happened to be a Caucasian fella knew my dad. He walks over and he says, "You really want that piece of property?" He said, "Yeah, I want it, but I don't have but $350." He said, "Don't worry about it. I'll buy it for you." So he bid it, and for $400, he bought the property. So my dad told him, he said, "I won't be able to pay you that $50 for I don't know when, because long in the end, $50 was big money, you know." And he says, "Well, you don't really have to pay me. Pay me when you get ready, because I just want to make these people sweat."
Today, people come from all over the continent to see this place, and some locals still don't get it.
When people have traveled, people are more educated, you find that those people think this is great. But then your people that didn't finish high school and didn't leave the county, they hadn't been out of the state or whatever, they don't really know any better, so they think of it as spooky, weird, you know, it's a weird house up there, you know.
May Tarver is a sculptor too, of sorts. Her chosen medium? Hair.
Okay, what you want me to do? Take a little bit off or take a lot?
How about something like this guy?
Something like that. Take it all off.
From a buck-toothed bust with a brush cut, to a bikini-clad Cupid, to a watermelon-munching angel, Willie, where do these ideas come from?
Dreams, mainly dreams, and sometimes I'll see things and I could make something, I could dream about something or think about something yesterday or last week or whatever, and it bugs me until I make it. When God is the creator, we made in God's image. So if we're made in God's image, then we too supposed to be creators of some kind, you know. So in my case, I love to make things. So I winds up making all the stuff you see here. What you see in front of us here is a dinosaur, but this is not, this is a dinosaur skeleton. And he's made out of a trampoline.
Willie's artistic career began in the graveyard. The family needed a headstone, so Willie made one.
Stone I made. This is the first stone I made right here. First one, made it for my brother Eddie.
His brother died and didn't have enough money to buy a tombstone. So he started then. And from that on, after he made a little tombstone, and he kept on until he just got on into it, you know.
While I was, this gravestone that I made for my brother, we put it out at the family church, and all the church members wanted a stone. And so I got to be like, what they call it, Willie the Tombstone Man, you know. And finally I decided, I said, if I will a reinforcement for a gravestone, I can make a little man, a little person. And I started making little dolls and things like that.
No doubt Willie would introduce us to the members of his band, but he's back in his workshop, firing up his welding torch. He's got many more dreams to interpret, and a lot more to show us in his church. This extension to Willie and May Tarver's home was once a venue for prayer meetings. But then Willie's art kind of took over.
So if you come on inside, I'll introduce you to some of my artwork and Leroy. Leroy is inside here. First of all, we have the podium that I made for the church.
Most of these characters come straight from Willie's imagination. But Leroy? Oh, Leroy and Willie go back a ways.
There's been a lot of talk about Leroy, and here is Leroy, my old fishing buddy. He loved money, and he loved his car. So what I done when he died, made sure that he take his money with him and his car with him.
When Willie's dad bought this land, he could never have imagined what his son would turn it into. A yard full of history for everyone to enjoy. And a history that is still being written right here on Tarver Street. Remarkable people make remarkable homes. From Willie Tarver to the unquenchable Ginny Ruffner, endlessly adorning her heritage home with her own creations. And of course, Bob Corbett, the architect who transformed the hulk of a bygone mine site into one of Montana's most outstanding homes. You know the old saying, home is where the heart is. Well, the folks we met today prove that home is also where the art is. I'm Arthur Black. Hope you enjoyed Weird Homes. Till next time.